Podcast. The number one show to bring you all things Club América in English. From tactical analysis
Pelota para la banda izquierda.
to player updates. We've got you covered on all the latest news on Las Águilas. Now, let's start the show. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Eagle Eye Podcast. Today, we're going to be breaking down the whole Clasico de Mexico week coming up as we have 3 back-to-back games against Guadalajara in what seems to be kind of a recurrence for this past couple of years that we've been having these Clásicos back-to-back. And to help me do that, we have a very special guest coming on the show today. It is none other than Omar himself from Goal Sighted. Omar, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm excited for the week. I know a lot of Chivas fans aren't super excited, but it's footy, man. Hay que sonreír, ¿no? Con la pelotita. So I'm excited for the week.
Absolutely. And I'd love to pick your brain about it too. And then something that we've always talked about on the podcast, especially when these Clásicos come up, it's just how much of importance do these games actually still have nowadays? Just because we felt like we've had them so close together back to back, sometimes feels a little bit washed out to some people just because we have them so consistently, so concurrent, and with so much at stake. But that'll be a little bit later on in the podcast. But I'd love to pick your brain in regards to that aspect. But yeah, no, we're going to sit here, we're going to talk, we're going to vibe, we're going to chill, and most importantly, we're going to break down both teams for the listeners and hopefully come out with something pretty positive on both ends so that we can kind of hype up the game, hype up the match. So I'm looking forward to this discussion, man. It should be a good one.
Let's get it.
All right, but before we do get started, I kind of want to give you just a little bit of a platform here for you to kind of explain who you guys are, because I know a lot of people technically when they think that we're going to have a guest on, especially for an America versus Chivas match, they think, oh, necessarily it's a Chivas-based podcast. But you guys do something a little bit more different than that. And your co-host isn't necessarily a Chivas fan himself. He's on our side. He's an Americanista. So just kind of briefly talk to us about, your podcast, what you guys been doing, and just kind of speak to the people.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Omar, and nowhere did I see myself in this journey jumping on like an America only podcast. But here we are, and I got like the America logo I saw it earlier up here. That I was like, that's crazy that it's on my image. But I'm the co-host of the podcast called Goal Sighted. We're 2 Mexican American dudes just talking all about footy. We do kind of like a weekend footy recap. So we talk Premier League, we talk Champions League, we talk La Liga, we talk everything. But we always have a section, a good chunk at the end, de Liga MX y de la Selección de México. So that's where we're rooted from. That's who we go for, right? So that's kind of our emphasis on it. And like you mentioned, I'm a Chivas fan, and Cesar, my co-host, he is an America fan. So that's the rivalry that keeps it really fun. Siempre hay madrazos every time we have an episode and they go against each other, or we're just talking smack about it. So if you guys are looking for more Liga MX content, if you guys like the vibe that you'll see today, feel free to jump over and tune in to us. We're all over YouTube, any audio platform. We do things in person too. We have tailgates in person at the Earthquakes games here, pa que vengas whenever you're in the Bay. We just started doing pickup soccer here on Saturdays here in Morgan Hill, where I'm from, where we have the studio here. So it's a lot of fun. We just try to keep it fun, trying to give back a little bit to the community however we can. We're just super passionate dudes about soccer.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's really cool what you guys have been doing. Just because you guys don't necessarily segue into kind of what we do, which is necessarily focus on one team and one team specifically. So it's cool that you guys have all these takes in regards to everything really regarding footy, like you mentioned, right? Whether it's Mexican, whether it's across, the Atlantic, and you talk European football, whatever the case may be. Make sure you guys go check them out. Super cool dudes. And this has been cooking for a while. I know when we reached out and we spoke about it, we said, we got to have you guys on for the Clasico, just because it'd be great to pitch you guys against each other. Unfortunately, your co-host wasn't able to come on, and he's got other things going on right now, but we can't wait for him to come on one day as well and talk all things Club America. So
we'll make it happen.
Absolutely. But all right, let's talk America versus Chivas. Omar, for you, how big is this game from the Chivas perspective? Right?
The first one only, or like all like the
No,
three
no, no. Just
series?
this week in general.
The week in
How
general.
big is this week for you guys in regards to one Concacaf Champions Cup and two as well the league? You know, you guys are bouncing back a little bit from, not being able to kind of adjust to this new manager. I know you guys still have this whole ordeal going on with the manager, right? Is he fired? Is he not? Is and who's coming in? So I know you guys have all of that kind of boiling up. In regards to this week, how important is it?
I think it's huge. I think every time you play a Clásico Nacional, I think it's humongous for both sides. And I see people in the chat. Saludos, mi gente. What's up? Hopefully, y'all don't hate that I got the Chivas jersey on the Eagle Eye podcast. But I think it's huge for both sides. I think a lot of people maybe think of it like, oh, America's tricampeones. They don't have anything really to play for. If they lose, it's whatever. If Chivas wins or loses, it's way more dramatic, right? But I think for Chivas, it's always huge, and I think they do have that espina para quitarse after the last couple of smackings that they've taken. In the last 10, they've lost like 8 or something to America and like tied and 1-1. So I think they're always big for Chivas, but I think right now they have a lot to prove. I think a lot of people have them kind of have ruled them out, that they have zero chance to win any of the 3. So we'll see my predictions if I could surprise you guys. But I think Chivas has a lot to win. I think now with Oscar Garcia out, he's officially out now. I think that allows them a bit of ability to play a bit free and not feel so stressed, because the dude already lost his job, my guy. Ya se fue. It's over. And now they have Gerardo Espinosa coming in, ex de Tapatío, which I think they give him a lot of confidence, right? Dude, they give you 3 America matches in 1 week. Like, you can lose all 3 and you won't get fired because you already have the deal. They know what's up. So I think it's huge for Chivas, but I think they're in a position where they can play a bit more stress-free than if Oscar Garcia was still the coach.
All right. Well, that's an interesting take. Joining us now, it is none other than, Anaheim's favorite resident here, next to Mike Trout, of course. It is Chris Rivera. Chris, thank you for joining, man.
Yeah, my bad. I'm a little bit late. I had to get home and take a shower and everything. But I'm happy to talk about this 3-game Clasico that we're about to have.
Absolutely. Well, Omar was just kind of talking to us from a Chivas perspective, just how important these games are. And, maybe they are a little bit of the underdogs in this situation, which is kind of odd to say about that in a Clásico, right? Because we always say it doesn't really matter how both teams are coming into this one. It's a Clásico at the end of the day. You don't really pit one against the other and say, oh, well, one's more of the underdog than the other. You kind of just say, well, who's going to want it more than anyone else? Obviously, we're coming in with this one, I think, with a lot of confidence, Chris. I mean, some may even argue a little bit of overconfidence, but the results have merited that. Or at least, do you think that, Americanistas are being a little bit too much on cloud nine to come into this one and already kind of project themselves as winners?
I don't think the players feel that way. I do think the fan base probably feels a little bit cocky, right? And how can we not? We're not playing our best football, to say, but at the same time, we're not losing and we're not having these quote unquote horrible games, right? It's more of these complaints about the little things. So yeah, I'd say, from a fan's perspective, we're very confident, but I don't think the players feel that way.
Yeah, no, and I agree, and it's something that I can't remember where I heard it from, but talking to other Americanistas, there was someone had mentioned the fact that, sure, we're a little bit arrogant and we come off as hubris at times, but it's because our team has backed it up, right? In these past years, our team showcased that, not just with titles, but with the victories against our rivals. I know last year it didn't look so hot for us against, the other Clásicos, but we still won the one against Chivas. Even, probably played the worst game I've ever seen in a Clásico and still got the 3 points. But still, I guess I digress. It's always felt like, one fan base is always going to feel themselves more above than the other. I think at the end of the day, it's just how do the players respond to that? and the players have been very well in these past 2 years to kind of keep their feet on the ground and kind of just focus and take care of business. I mean, you heard Henry Martin today in his press conference, right? He said that the team's focused and they're looking for all three victories in these three matches, right? They want them. They're hungry, and that's exactly the end goal for them. And you know that this team, I'm sure, has kind of these little goals that they put ahead of themselves. Obviously, there's a big objective at the end of the day, but I'm sure they have these little things that they want to achieve, and this is on top of the list, I would imagine. So
Yeah, and it's a game of moments, right? El fútbol. Like si no llegas con confianza, like you're not gonna do great, right? So like right now, America is coming with all the confidence in the world after tricampeonato, after winning so many of the past clásicos against Chivas, right? And even in the last couple, it goes to social media, right? And they start making fun of each other. They start playing the Chivas canciones in the locker room, and then they like it just starts adding on to it, right?
Yeah.
And if you can't punch back, but then you start feeling a bit of like helplessness, like oh, pues ni modo, like they smack us and then they make fun of us and whatever, and that's it, right? But if that moment changes with either some new dynamic play with the new coach, the Chivas, and they snap one back tomorrow, then the kind of moment changes a little bit, right? And then we go a little bit more level playing field para el sábado. It becomes a bit of a hotter match. It's like, okay, what's going to happen there? And then that game even finishes, and then it's a different moment. Okay, who's going to come back and who's going to take the elimination round in this cup, right? And then vienen los fantasmas. Is America going to not make it again super far in that tournament? Is Chivas going to flop again against America, right? So like I think there's going to be a lot of things happening over the next couple of days that are going to be switching things up, because I mean, even with the, like Chris mentioned, people were calling it fracasos and like crisis de América because they tied against León and then they lost against Necaxa, right?
Yeah.
So it's it can really go either way, and it's the headlines are going to be popping the next couple of days.
Well, I think this is the week that all Mexican newspapers are looking forward to, right? Because they can run any headline and they know that they're going to sell papers because it is the biggest game of the season. And funny enough, it coincides 3 times back to back to back. So, Chris, I'll ask the question to Omar first, just because I kind of feel like I know what the answer is going to be for our side. But Omar, CONCACAF Champions Cup league play, which one takes priority for you guys in the calendar right now? Is it more important for you guys to get the victory in this series, in this round of 16 against America, or do you think it's a little bit more of a priority to kind of save face and get all 3 points at home on Saturday in the league?
Yeah, I mean in Clásicos you can't lose any, right? But I think in a priority, I think Chivas is needing a lot more in league. I think there is a huge pressure on all other 17 teams in Liga MX that somebody has to dethrone America. And I think that's a big priority. And Chivas being in 10th place right now, I think is very underwhelming on that. And I think playing in a cup like the CONCACAF Champions Cup is a bit of almost algo extra de Chivas that like is surplus, but not necessarily needs to be the priority. Yes, if they can make it all the way and go to the freaking Club World Cup, let's get it, right? But I think they're playing on borrowed time, in all honesty, in that area. Like nobody's expecting them to pass through America. But I think there's a lot more pressure for this Chivas to acumular de tres in league. You cannot be 8 through 12 in this league. You cannot make it there in playoffs and have a play-in and que no te vaya bien and risk getting out early. No. I think that's where the priority is, in my opinion. I think the cup, yes, but like this Chivas team doesn't even have enough plantel to be playing 2 tournaments, in my opinion. And in my opinion, they need to go in hard in Liga. And if they pass America in Champions Cup, that's killer. But you need to win in Liga.
All right, interesting perspective on that end. Chris, I divert the question now back to you. What do you think America falls? Because we've talked about it so much this year, right? What's take priority? Where are we going to put all our eggs in one basket, or are we going to try to find a way to kind of balance it out? We talked about the depth of the squad, the lack of signings, the lack of additional depth. Do you think that the priority is still CONCACAF Champions Cup? Is it still the league? Where do you think the Americanismo is at the moment?
Well, I've said it from the start. It's everything. I can't separate them because of the fact that, you know, if we lose league, the last three that we just won doesn't matter. They're gonna clown on us. They're gonna talk about the expectations, how it's a fracaso and whatnot. And if we don't win Concacaf, it's the same thing. So for us, it's everything. I can't sit here and say we save our season if we win one or the other. I think it's simply there's gonna be criticism if you don't win both. So I can't separate them. I understand the importance of a World Cup of clubs, right, and Concacaf and all of that. But at the same time, I've told you before, in Mexico, it's not like the actual Champions League, right? It's not like you win that and you're parading about it. It's more of it's league and that's just an extra. So like I can't. I understand it's a huge debate because it is cool to win an international title, but at the same time I can't, you know, make league less just because we won three in a row. And then the day that's the argument forever. That's gonna be every team's highest praise in Mexico. So I just for me you have to win them both. You have to look at them one game at a time, and you can't look into the future. You can't look in the past. You have to look at what's in front of you.
I agree to some extent that obviously both carry a lot of weight, but I feel like America's itching to get back into glory on international soil, and this is kind of our tournament, right? We claim to be the biggest team in the region, and we also claim to be the team. Well, obviously, we are the team that has won the most CONCACAF Champions Cup, but it's already looking like it's going to be a 10-year anniversary without lifting that trophy. So there's a big drought on that end. And I know we've spoken a lot on the podcast here with you, with Dylan, with Brian, whenever he's on, the importance of, representing the America, institution in international play. So I do feel like, and you saw Emilio Escarga show up at Coapa just a couple of days ago, talking what seemed to be very tough with the players and kind of directing a message to them, saying that there's an importance of not just this week, obviously because it's the Clasico and it's the biggest game of the season, but also because I do think he wants them to know that, hey, we missed out very briefly on CONCACAF Champions Cup last year. We cannot afford to do that again this year, right? The expectation is to kind of again get back on the horse, and this time get to the finish line rather than trip up just moments before you get there. So I do feel like CONCACAF Champions Cup is a priority. Not to say that the league isn't, but you do feel like you're in a comfortable position where you can focus, start shifting focus to one rather than the other. But I do think that we're pretty poised in both areas to say, hey, this team can manage both.
I guess, Ivan, if I could switch it up a little bit, how you said it, you would take an America elimination in league, like they don't get the tetra if they won CONCACAF Champions Cup. Would you do that?
In a sense, I would be more okay with it, yes. But I mean, still, if you don't make CONCACAF champ,
we wouldn't be okay with any of it, right? Like,
yeah.
If I had a dream, could Chivas eliminate America and then go in like in Cup and then go to Liga and eliminate them over there? But I'm one of those way, right? But like in reality, it's probably gonna be one or the other, and Chivas is hurting in points in league right now. So I'm like, we need fucking points, and Chivas will, if they beat America, they're gonna lose to the next round. They're gonna lose to LAFC or to somebody hella strong, right? But you guys, if you guys didn't move on in CONCACAF Champions Cup but got the tetra, you're saying it would sting a lot.
It would sting a little bit, yes, because I do feel like, at least personally for me, I want to see this team win something on the international stage. I mean, you've already made history with the tricampeonato. Obviously, your team is the only one that holds that cold tetras campeonato stuff from 19 BC.
It was 5.
or 5, whatever. But that was back
Yeah,
when
but that was different. It was different. Eran diferentes los tiempos.
different times. Um. So yeah, obviously there's all of that still kind of. There's more to achieve, and we know that there is. But I do feel like if one comes and the other one doesn't, then I feel like next year they will replace themselves. I feel like this team is capable of doing that. Right? We're living in such a glorious era for America, and that I think that we'll be fine if one doesn't turn out, because next year down the road, I think we can grab it, we can get it. But I mean, that's personal preference, because Chris will tell you otherwise. He'd want the league rather than CONCACAF Champions Cup. I think it's just
both. I want both. Like that's my thing. It's just I can't sit here and say one's more important than the other, because we're gonna get chances to play CONCACAF again because of how it's structured, right? We're gonna have the most points. We're gonna be a finalist, or knock on wood, But at the same time, the way it's structured, it just we're gonna get that opportunity to try again. While 4 in a row, like I can't like if we lose this one, can I expect another 3 in a row?
yeah. No,
Like,
I mean that's true, right? You want to continue on that hot seat. Um, I don't know. Personally, for me, I that's what I want to see. I want to see America lift that CONCACAF Champions Cup trophy.
So Chris, you kind of remind me of Cesar with the take. So then you're saying you would be upset if they won, if either of them, they just don't win them. Like si lo saca Pachuca in the semifinal here, but then they win the Tetra, you're like, nope. And then
it's on the moment, Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if we get eliminated from Champions Cup, I'm gonna be mad in that moment. But then if we end up winning league, I'm gonna be happy, But in the end of the day, I want to win them both. I don't want to feel that disappointment or be upset. I just want to, just look at it. Like I can't sit here and talk about the final because we have Chivas tomorrow, and I can't even think about Liguilla or anything like that because it's still a long way to go. So for me, it's just there's no point in choosing when everything's just very structured differently and everything. So I want to win them all, and I'm gonna be mad if we don't win CONCACAF, but I'm gonna be happy. It's just a matter of the moment, not necessarily as a whole. If we don't win anything, then yeah, you look back and say, oh well, this was a failure of a season because you didn't win anything. But obviously, you could heal wounds if you win one or the other. But
because what was happening during Leagues Cup last year, right? In between the first campeonato and the second, which led to a third, I heard some people saying Jardine out.
Yeah,
right. Do you guys remember that when he got eliminated?
I was one of them.
Yeah, he was one of them.
He's like, "Ni me escondo."
I have a very short leash,
Yeah, which America fans do right now at this moment, right?
Yeah.
When Chivas was in the greatest of moments, I'm sure I wasn't even on this planet, but like I'm sure they were also holding their team to a crazy standard, right? You got to.
Yeah, and you have to, especially with these two teams being quote unquote the biggest teams in the region, and I would dare to say in the continent as well, right? So the standard has to be upheld. But yeah, it's I guess preference, and at the end of the day, you mentioned it. Who knows? Maybe Leagues Cup is just the cherry on top, Chris, and once we win that, then everything comes full circle.
I'm still not taking that tournament series.
What if they win Leagues Cup but lose the other two? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just trolling now.
I would personally be okay with it, but that's just me because I'm the only Leagues Cup
They
fan.
they get the same spot, right, in CONCACAF Champions Cup or in the
America
Club World Cup. In the Club World Cup, they get the same spot.
No, not in the Club World Cup. They get it.
Because of
They get
Miami.
a spot in the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
Oh, that's true. That.
Yeah.
No, Miami got it just for being nepo babies, huh?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's all I was like. Didn't they get the spot?
Miami
But
just
no.
got it for being basically because they had Messi.
They should make that a rule though. No, but
Well, next person to sign Cristiano Ronaldo maybe gets a spot in the next one.
for real.
But all right. Well, let's talk primarily about this game tomorrow. What can we expect, right, from both sides? You mentioned it, Omar, that Chivas is probably thinking more about the game on Saturday. Do you think they're gonna take this game, tomorrow's game, as kind of a warm up and maybe try some things out? Maybe not necessarily go in full force and maybe rotate a little bit and feel like All right, let's see who can play in what position and who can give me a little bit more for Saturday. Or do you think it's gonna be full force? Let's just go out there and
Yeah.
and try to sucker punch them.
Yeah. So just to clarify, I think they're more like tienen la necesidad de ganar el sábado. But I think Chivas is going to go out to try to win all three. I think, in all honesty, if we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves on our predictions, I think Chivas has the best chance to win tomorrow. Because you know what they say, equipo con nuevo técnico no pierde, right? It's Gerardo Espinosa's first shot. And if we're being all honest, that fool hasn't had a job in a bit. He was out in Chile, I think, at a squad in between after the Sub-23 and now. But he's a Liga MX lifer, Liga MX coach lifer, right? Like he knows the league, unlike Oscar Garcia, who probably never even looked this up on YouTube. But what I'm getting to is that dude probably watches America and probably watches Chivas matches. And even if he's not, he's subconsciously over the past while been trying to figure out how to beat America, right? And he has an element of surprise. He has an element of a brand new team that can be persuaded to be different, more not futbolísticamente, because it's just one day that he's had with the team, but like anímicamente, like that they're gonna be okay, and that they're gonna be like, they're gonna give it their all to really bleed for him, to bleed for the jersey, because they trust this new guy. And I think that's the best that we can hope for as Chivas fans for tomorrow's match. And that's what I'm saying. I think, in all honesty, their best chances tomorrow, with a lot of different ideas, something that maybe can put Jardinea on his back foot, put the team on their back foot, scoring early, things like that. I think Gerardo Espinosa has a little bit of something that he can prove tomorrow, and it would be a really good introduction for him to Chivas if he did.
Well, that's interesting. Chris, Omar said something that kind of struck me today while I was driving on my way home from work, and I thought about that too. You know, they always say about, you know, a team bouncing back after having a new manager and this and that. But I feel like growing up my whole entire life, it was either us getting a new manager or them getting a new manager in the Clasico, and it never seemed to pan out either one way or the other. So we've been here before, been there, kind of done that situation. I don't think Jardinez thinking much about this new manager. I think he's thinking systematically, how can he continue to implement what he's been working on from day one to where we are right now at the moment. Obviously, you can't plan for a new manager that you don't know necessarily. I guess he can try to watch footage from Tapatio and maybe try to get an idea of what his coaching style will be. But I think Jardinez more primarily thinking about, okay, how can I refine what I've been doing and doing so well? You mentioned about rotations for this game potentially. Do you still see that the case be? I mean, we're gonna have a full healthy squad minus, you know, an Igor Lichnowsky who isn't even registered. But I mean, do you still stand on the fact that, hey, we're gonna do some rotations, feel things out, or do you think we're gonna see a much more stronger 11?
No, I think we're gonna see the starting 11. You know, the main starting 11. I think. Remember, my prediction was actually rotations in the Toluca game. It was Christian that thought we were gonna have rotations this game.
I got it mixed up. I mean,
Yeah. But I want to ask you guys question because you brought up us planning against them, right? Do you think, I'm assuming we're favorites, right? I think it's fair to say we're favorites. I don't know if
yeah, I'm
Vegas
sure the
has
bookies would have us as favorites.
right?
Yeah.
So as favorites, do you think we're supposed to adapt to their game and see how they come at us? Or do you think we're just going to go out there and do what we got to do? Because, you know, I don't think there's many teams in the league who we're looking at and saying, yo, we had to change our style of play because of, you know, what they're bringing to us. Because last season we did do that a lot, but it was mainly because of injuries. Other than that, I don't think we necessarily try to change our style of play to our opponent.
No, I think it goes back to what I was talking to you about a little bit right now, right? It's how can we continue to implement what we've been doing so well. I do think that America is going to come in and maybe give them a good 15, 25 minutes of just kind of us playing our game. And then whether or not we have a goal at that point, we'll most likely give ball possession to Chivas, which is something that I've seen America do a lot this season, is we'll dominate very early on. We'll kind of get a feel of the game. We'll probably have a goal, maybe two if we're lucky. But if we do have a goal, then we'll slowly kind of invite the other team to come and attack. Give them the ball. Invite the pressure on. And we know that we're so good with the counterattack because we have speed up top that I think we're comfortable kind of feeling out and seeing, okay, let them play their game. Let's see how we can manage that and break on the counter. So I can see something similar happening. I don't think America's going to be too worried about trying to figure out Chivas' game plan. I think America's going to be more preoccupied about getting their tactics refined and kind of letting Chivas adapt to them and then trying to get them on the counter.
And how about you, Omar? Omar, how do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel if America does just go and play their game? Do you feel comfortable, or is it like one of those things that you rather prefer they just sit back and let you do your thing?
I mean, I think either of those ways are pretty characteristic of Jardine, right? I think Jardine has a very good game plan when they have the ball, possession based, play wide, through Sendejas, out wide, through Rodriguez, feed into Fidalgo, right? All that jazz. When they have the ball and they're super fast and they move players out of position and they can kill you one way or another, right? I also think it's in their game plan to sit back, like you guys mentioned, right? Sit back, almost San Luis style back in the day with Jardine, and allow them to come at you in a controlled way where they can snap back and counterattack super quick with Henry Martin up top as hold up play. Todo, do I prefer one or the other from a Chivas perspective? What do I think will happen? I think Jardine will come out and just play normal possession based ball. I think what you guys mentioned is pretty true. I think the beginning will be a game de ajedrez to figure out like who's gonna really bite first. Gerardo Espinosa has pretty high press. I don't know if he's gonna go immediately and do that against like in the biggest match of his career, of his coaching career. But if he stays to what he did with Tapatío, really high press, really possession based, and maybe if Jardine tries to go 2 for 2 and he sees, okay, he's trying to do the same thing similar that I do, then let me switch my tactics, and then this fool's gonna learn today, right? I think Gerardo Espinosa has a tall task ahead of him that he needs to figure out what Necaxa did, what León did, to neutralize some of those attacks in good ways, stopping them early on. Don't let them get all the way to Sendejas. Don't let them get all the way to Fidalgo, who are doing really well right now. Stopping them early, pressing that back line. If they put in somebody like Dagoberto, who's been kind of struggling in some of the matches that he's in, exposing him, right? So I think it's going to be a big game of chess, I think, the first match, because Jardinez got that big brain, and Gerardo Espinosa is going to come in trying to show his big brain too.
Well, I guess it's going to be a battle of whose brain is bigger.
Yeah.
So we'll see from a tactical perspective who kind of got it right on the night. And this is an interesting thing, right? When you have so many games back to back, it's like you don't want to reveal your hand in the first matchup, right? You kind of want to give as little as you can and go from there. And this one a little bit going to be even more interesting because I feel like from a Chivas perspective, I don't think the new manager is going to kind of showcase everything, right? He wants to save something for Saturday, which you mentioned is top priority. And regardless, we'll see how the matchup ends for you guys tomorrow. But then, if there's something to salvage there on Wednesday of next week, I'm sure he's going to want to hold something close to his chest as well. So it'll be an interesting, what is it? 100. More than what's 180 plus 90?
270.
There you go. An interesting 270 minutes. Math is hard. Well, we spoke about tomorrow. We most likely see a rotation side of things, maybe from both sides. Although Chris is very much adventurous to saying that we will have a very strong starter 11. I do agree we will have a majority of our starters out there, but maybe one or two tweaks. And yeah, I guess from then on we move on to Saturday's matchup, which is an interesting one because it's you can't really read too much into the first game and think that you're able to figure out what's going to happen in the second one. It's two completely different competitions, right? And it doesn't hold the same weight. So I don't know. I'm curious to hear your guys' perspective on Saturday's matchup. But before we do talk about Saturday's matchup, I do want to remind everybody that this Saturday is our watch party for the Clásico Nacional, for the Clásico de Mexico. So if you guys haven't done so already, make sure you guys follow us over at EY Podcast. We have all the details going down. Our watch party is this Saturday. Doors open at 5 p.m. at the Football Boutique in Los Angeles. We're going to be hosting a live podcast prior to the matchup. So me and Chris are going to be kind of rehashing most of what we're talking about right now, Chris. So it's a lot of rinse and repeat in that sense. But we're really excited, super excited. We've worked really hard to make this a possibility. And shout out to the Football Boutique for partnering with us and making this dream kind of become a reality for us, and being able to group all Americanistas, and a couple of Chivas fans are going to be there. I've already seen. So honestly, the vibe is going to be great. It's going to be a completely amazing atmosphere. And if you guys haven't done so, make sure you guys check it out. Click on the RSVP link. Chris, we are close to almost 100 RSVPs already. So
damn,
that's
last time
crazy.
it was 50.
Yeah. It's crazy the amount of love and support that we're getting for this watch party. So it's absolutely amazing. We can't wait. Omar, we hope that next time we do something like this, you guys can make it down.
Hell yeah. No, yeah, we've been trying to make it down to a trip to LA. So we got a good amount of homies down there, some people in the community from our side. So hopefully we make it down and we'll do something, a little pickup footy or watch a match. Estaría bien.
No, absolutely. Yeah, whenever you guys do come, we'll host a little Liga MX community match. It should be fun. So dust off your gloves, dust off your cleats, whatever it is, get ready. But yeah, again, watch party this Saturday. If you guys haven't done so, make sure you click on the RSVP link. I'll make sure to leave it in the description of the video, and as well as the description of the show notes if you're listening to this audio, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We're super excited. We can't wait. And honestly, thank you to everybody that has been showing us love, showing RSVPing, and we can't wait. Should be a fun one. Should be exciting. And I guess it gives more pressure, Chris, for Saturday's matchup than it already needed to be, right?
Yeah, and I actually think that's probably going to be where you see the rotations. So
well, hopefully not too much rotations. Omar, talk to me about Saturday then. In a hypothetical world where we don't see each other tomorrow, how would you approach this game, or at least how do you think Chivas would have approached this game, knowing that the league is more important?
Yeah, if they didn't have tomorrow's match, pues entran con todo. No, they bring the most stacked lineup that you can. Everyone's gonna be fresh, right? Pocho Guzman's even coming off of an injury, and like he's supposed to be good to play tomorrow, but he's probably maybe off the bench. But like he would probably rest all the way until Saturday, and then try to give him his 40 minutes, or I don't know, maybe even push him to start if the new coach really wants to inject some new blood in there or something, right? But that's not the reality we live in. There's a match tomorrow, so I agree with Chris. I think we're gonna have a bit of a rotation. I think we might see tomorrow that they give priority to the cup because they want to get that dub. They want to be in a major tournament. Maybe we see even Chicharito come in on Saturday, and then that's how you know. I think that's the measurement right there. If you see Chicharito starting on Saturday, you're like, damn, those are rotations right there. They for sure rotated.
That's crazy to think that a household name like that would indicate that.
Yeah, I think that he's getting. I mean, we're getting a little bit off on a tangent on just what I think about these things, but I think Chicharito honestly he's in a really bad situation where that they need more of him than I think what they brought him in for. They brought him in to sell jerseys. They brought him in to be a club legend, to retire him at a certain point. I would have loved for Chivas to be top of the table, and Chicharito comes in every last 15 minutes and puts in a goal because there's no pressure on his back. Right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, kind of Pulido's getting it now, but up until now, he was like, we were asking him like, come on, bro, be that 27-year-old Chicharito. He's not that guy anymore. So like, I think he got done a little bit dirty. Now he's becoming a meme, and now they're making fun of him and all these things, and it kind of sucks when you're like a big Chicha fan for back in the day.
Yeah, well, I guess that's just the cycle of life in the football world, right? Can't always stay 20 something years old. Eventually gotta transition into a different role in the world of footy. Um so okay. Rotations, Chris. Talk to me about them. What do you think Saturday's game plan is gonna be?
I think we probably see like a Davila start in Saturday. Probably, you know, if I'm not mistaken, Jonathan Dos Santos is back too. So maybe we probably see him too. We probably see an Israel Reyes start on Saturday. I'm hoping he doesn't start tomorrow because I do think it's a more important game right tomorrow, and I don't think he's been good at all this season.
You're talking
So
about
I
Reyes?
Israel Reyes,
Yeah.
yes, I think he's been struggling, and I think even if it's Chicharito, you don't want to give any space, right? Because a striker's a striker at the end of the day, and if they find enough space, they're gonna be able to score. And Israel Reyes has just been very bad in the air and giving those spaces, and so I do think Saturday is the day he starts. And it's a toss up between Borja and Chicote, right? I like Chicote more, but it feels like Jardine likes Borja more, so it's possible that we see a Chicote start on Saturday instead of tomorrow, and we see Borja start these two CONCACAF games.
All right, Borja, the new profound goal scorer for America.
Another thing. I actually think Valdez starts. Well, we're not talking about tomorrow, but I do think Diego Valdez starts in these CONCACAF Champions games instead of
Well,
League.
Christian didn't mention he loves to play against Chivas and likes to score against them. So fingers crossed we get to see the best of Diego Valdez again. If not, like I said, I think he's on borrowed time with us. I guess these next couple of games will tell a little bit more about how much ambition the Chilean still has to be a starter, obviously, and I guess kind of dictate his legacy with us at the end of the day. But all right, I would love to sit here and kind of dissect next week's match, but I just feel like it would be close to nearly impossible just because of everything that has to happen within 2 games, right? But I feel comfortable now asking for a prediction for at least tomorrow and Saturday's matchup, and then maybe we can circle back around next week and talk and see where both of these teams landed, and then we'll see how much is at stake for next Wednesday's matchup. But Omar, for you, what's your prediction? I know you wanted to kind of surprise us here. What's your prediction for Wednesday's matchup? What's your prediction for Saturdays? And if you're ambitious enough, throw me your Wednesdays.
Cool.
Next Wednesdays.
So, I think logically speaking, I think everybody would be asking of me to say that Chivas has no chance in any of these matches. I think that's what logic would kind of direct us to think. Like I mentioned to you guys, I see a possibility for new tactics, new ideas, things that are maybe unknown for an America side to come mainly in tomorrow's match more than anything else. So for my prediction, we just keep it simple. I think Chivas wins tomorrow, the first leg of the Champions Cup.
You want to put a scoreline to it or no?
For the sake of it, 2-0 in El Acron.
Wow, that's ambitious. But I like it. I like when our guests come in with confidence. Just that much more sweeter when we win, right, Chris?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, hey, it doesn't really add much to it because I think it's sweet no matter what, right? Because
I
we're
guess
very optimistic as well about that.
too optimistic sometimes, but yes, yeah. All right. Saturday's prediction, Omar.
Saturday, I think America wins the Liga match, even though it's in El Acron. I'll probably give it like a 2-1. Hard-fought battle. The Espinosa's boys, but I think they'd come out short after a short week.
All right. You want to be adventurous and do next week too, or do you want to just leave it at that?
Let's do it. Let's get even wilder. I think America wins that second one in El Azul Crema Bowl or whatever you guys call it, the new stadium.
Yeah.
And but I still think Chivas moves on.
All right. Bold prediction. Okay.
So I give you guys 2 wins and I give my team 1 win. So también no me digan tan loco, that let's go. But yeah, I have the math, and El Brujo dice that somehow Chivas will get some form of a laugh out of all of this,
Well, we'll see
but not
how
the
true
most.
that is.
Obviously.
All right. Well, ambitious is one way to put it, Chris. But hey, I know that on our side we sound a little bit ludicrous as well. Give me your prediction for tomorrow and Saturday.
I got us winning as well, 2-0 tomorrow. I think it could be more. It really depends because I think our attack is just that close to having a goleada this season, and it's
Yeah.
always against Chivas whenever that it feels like that, right? We were kind of struggling. We're missing all these opportunities. The Clasico comes, and all of a sudden everyone starts scoring, right? So it feels like that. I think that probably happens in the weekend, maybe. Whether the second leg or the third, or the second game or the third. So for me, I would say 2-0. In the second game, I think we win 1-0.
Okay. Not bad. I love the fact that we're getting 2 clean sheets back to back.
Yeah.
You know me. That's a plus on my end. But I like it. I like it. I do think tomorrow's matchup is a little bit more maybe maybe not so evenly contested, but I do think we'll see a scoreline maybe not as drastic. I'm going America 2-1. And I don't know, Saturday can either be the floodgates will open or it's gonna be another one of those close call matches. Hopefully it's not a draw. But if it is, at least can they give us another 3-3 like from 2005? That'd be something. Um, but I guess I'll be ambitious as well. I'll go. Um, how's this for a change? 3-0 for the second leg. America wins it. You know why not? We're at home,
I think I
kind
think
of.
second leg's gonna be 3-2.
3-2. Wow, that's a lot of
3-2.
goals. But
Yeah.
as long as it's a victory, I don't mind. And then, yeah, I want to see hopefully 3 good games, right? Something to talk about. And at the end of the day, I guess we'll see which fan base comes out the more content. I think two fan bases that have different priorities for their teams. So we'll see. But I don't know. It's exciting, but also, Omar, I want to ask you this just because I feel like we used to ask this question a lot whenever we had the Chivas del Norte, the guys on, whenever we did
Those
previews
are
with
the
them.
boys.
Yeah, shout out to them. These clásicos, do you feel like because we have them so often, because we've seen each other so consistently in these past, I want to say, what, 6, 7, 8 years that we see each other so consistently, even in friendlies, we see each other during FIFA international dates. Does this game for you in any way feel watered down just because of the amount of times that we face each other? Or does it still have that same kind of excitement, that feeling of like, okay, it's another Clasico, these the big game, the big moment, the one game that you always look on the calendar to see what day it falls on?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I get super excited Clasico weeks. I for sure do. I think naturally something happening so often it just naturally waters it down a little bit. I think what kind of hurts it a bit is the moleros that they do here in LA, right? And then they give you a half-cooked lineup. They bring in like 1 to 2 of the starters and then a bunch of random fools to help fill out the rest of it. And it's more for the fans in the stands so that everyone brings out the fucking fireworks, Itola, and it gets all crazy, which is a good environment. I love it, Itola, right? But it is a lot of matches that they play against each other because that's where the money comes from. That's the reality of it. Would I rather 2 matches a year? Would I rather? Probably, yeah. I think it would be epic, and then they would fill in the gap of how many more we get because of playoffs. Right?
Yeah.
Then that just makes it that much sweeter, right? Se agarraron de las greñas in the league, in cup, and then they get to playoffs, and then they see each other again. Y vámonos, agárrense. And that's maybe one of the reasons why the games were so epic in the 90s and thousands, right? There was less times that they'd see each other, and then they would see each other, and they were taught to hate each other, and they wouldn't see each other 7 times a year. So those games were epic at that point. But to each their own.
Yeah.
It's cool that we get to see him here in the Bay. We see him in LA, but I'm gonna enjoy these 3 games. This is gonna be lit until we start losing. I'm gonna be like, hell no, turn off the TV.
Well, just to circle back to that, I think Chris, we've talked about it, right? It just feels like we've seen these games so often. I think last year we were talking about it too when we saw each other again in CONCACAF Champions Cup and then the league, and then like a week later there was a friendly in the States. You feel like, okay, it's watered down. It doesn't give you that much importance, but there's something about this game that just 10 minutes before kickoff, you already saw the lineup, and it's like the game's about to start. Somehow riles you back up, and you're like, damn, it's a Clasico. You know, it's all or nothing. You got to go out there. You got to win. And yeah, maybe at first the momentum isn't as there as much as it used to be, especially growing up, Chris. I think, me and you share similarities of growing up and watching America, that you felt like, oh, it's the Clasico, big game day, big week. And now you feel like, okay, Clasico again Wednesday, then Saturday comes around, another one. Oh, look, next Wednesday again. But still, even though as watered down as we want to play it sometimes, it's your biggest rival, your most feared and hated rival at the same time. It's just it's one of those things where regardless of how many times we could play them, 12 times out of the 17 during the league, and I think every game will hold somewhat of an importance.
Hey man, as long as they're not doing the podcast and hanging out before the Clasico and all that stuff,
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of whack. Dog. Like,
yeah.
leave the
Leave it.
podcasting to us, my guys. Come on.
there you go. Yeah.
yeah. That to me was when they were really watering it down, and I get it. It was all about no violence and all that, but at the same time, it's like you gotta have some hatred. You gotta feel. They gotta feel what we feel, right? Like
Yeah.
we might not hate each other to the point where we want to hurt each other, but we all have a friend that's a Chivista or an Americanista that annoys us, right? Yeah. And I'm sure we all relate with this, and that's what kind of makes this Clásico great, because it's like we're either gonna enjoy with our family, or we're just gonna have like the biggest trash talks of our life until we go to sleep. Like we're just gonna be on the phone arguing with our friends over the game. So just like as long as it they keep it natural, I don't necessarily mind how many times. But I do agree, the whole friendlies and all that, and the podcasting and interviews with each other, that's a little too watered down for me. I wanna have this like imagination of like Sendejas and Nene Beltran not really liking each other, right? Like back in the day, you would see rumors of like Bofo and Cuauhtemoc Blanco not being friends outside the field, even if they were in the national team, right? And maybe that was true, maybe it wasn't, but it's like this pro wrestling type feeling where it's like, oh well, we don't know if they really are friends, So I'd rather have that type of imagination than seeing them together, friendly on a podcast.
No, man, I totally agree, and like maybe it should be even part of their contracts, bro. Like yeah, be homies with Nene Beltran, but like for the sake of the rivalry, like just like don't be seen Andares shopping together. Like goddamn, like don't be like sliding into the same chick's IG comments. Like yo, that's my boy. Like don't be like don't love each other that much in public.
Yeah, I think that doesn't help it either, right? I guess it does kind of.
Because who's the guy that did the pod? It was Canelo Angulo, no, that brought like 2 fools together and like had them arguing.
Telemundo had a thing where they had Sendejas and Nene Beltran, and they were kind of like trash talking, but it was like it wasn't intense. It was like, oh, I'm just having fun with my friend type.
Yeah, it was kind of like it was manageable. Like it was managed conflict, right? Like it wasn't naturally sparked. It was just kind of like
that's where they need podcasters to break it through, man.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? This is a hot take, but I think they stole the idea from that whole week, the whole Clasico week thing. They stole it from us, because I remember we used to do this with the Chivas del Norte. Like they'll get on the podcast, we'll go on their podcast, and then we'd also play each other in FIFA. prior to that. So like they stole all of our ideas. And when I saw that,
for
I was
sure.
like, hey, where's our credit? Where's our invitation at least? But I guess whatever's. But yeah, no, it doesn't help the rivalry as much as maybe they thought they did, and probably that's why they stopped doing it. You know.
No, yeah, for sure.
Alrighty then. Well, I don't know. I feel like we've covered everything, Chris. Do you have anything else?
No, just Igor could play. That's pretty much it. And I think you touched on that too, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's unavailable because he's not registered.
They had to drop an extranjero to register him, no?
Yeah.
Wait, but we didn't register Richard and Valdez either. Did they end up registering them or?
Remember, he has to be registered in the league, and they had until March 7th. So that's coming up. So they have until March 7th to register him in the league, which I don't think they're gonna do.
Who should they drop? What extranjero would you guys want to be dropped for?
Borja.
Bro, he's cooking. He's cooking.
I'm not a fan, bro. He just frustrates me way too much. So
I would say Diego Valdez.
So you'll ride or die with Chicote then at left back. You're like,
I'm like a stan, bro. I defend Chicote way too much.
too
Way
much.
too much. Way
I mean,
too much.
he's-
And it's like
he's
I'm not.
solid.
I don't overrate him either. It's just I like what he does defensively, and Borja doesn't do that. So for me, I'd rather have Chicote there covering ground than having these vulnerable center backs behind, or having Fidalgo having to track back and do all the dirty work.
For sure.
But yeah. Well, Omar, anything else you want to add on?
Nah, man, I'm hoping for some good matches. What are you guys doing tomorrow during it? Are you guys doing anything?
Tomorrow the game's at 5:30 our time. We're all here. We're all in the Pacific Coast, so
Yeah.
I don't have to do math and think about East Coast or Central Time. But it's at 5:30, so probably just rushing to get home and from work and catch the game on time. Get home, do the graphic for starting 11, and just pop open a cold one and start watching.
I want to no, because we usually record on Wednesdays, so we're gonna record tomorrow, and but we usually start around 6 after we get home from work and stuff. And I told this fool Cesar, my co-host, I was like, arrancate early and come through to the crib, and this is the studio back here basically. And I told him, if you get here in time, bro, let's jump on a live and then we'll record afterwards.
Yeah.
Just like on YouTube or something, not just see what the comments say and shit.
No,
But
yeah,
a
for
ver-
sure.
A ver qué.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that as well, for sure. We'll definitely tune in, and maybe you see a little Club America comment here and there.
Yeah,
Defending,
see if
Cesar.
y'all don't see us throwing blows in there on the video.
Catching. Yeah, you guys going bodies. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, we'll keep an eye out, and hopefully, you guys get to do that. We'll look forward to your guys' podcast as well to see your guys' analysis of the game as well. But yeah, man, there's nothing more left to say than, I guess, let's buckle up and let's hope that this is a Clasico de Mexico week to remember.
For sure.
Alrighty then. Well, Chris, if there's nothing left, I guess we'll kind of close it out here. Huge shout out again, Omar. Thank you so much for coming out. And tell us that we said hi. Thank you again for coming on, and we hope that we can get you guys back on here soon.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you guys having me on. Yeah, it's a really good time. You guys are awesome people. Aunque le vayan a la América, feel free to invite me, invite Cesar. We'll be on whenever y'all want. Los madrazos, ahí le echamos.
For sure. And just shout out to AP Jr. for kind of just saying what we're all thinking. And Dreyfus, we trust.
I'm dead.
All right, but shout out to you. Shout out to Ricardo, who has just absolutely been battering Omar in the chat. But
Yo, I saw that.
Ricardo is one of the most passionate Club America. He don't worry, don't take this personal, Omar. It's you today, but it's me next week.
Nah, it's personal. I'm just kidding, bro. I don't, bro. We've gone viral a couple times on TikTok, and the shit they say about me, about my mom, bro. No me duele nada. Ya no siento nada.
You gotta have thick skin in this
Yeah.
industry, that's for sure.
No,
And
it's
the
all-
funny
it's
thing
all
is,
love.
yeah, no, for sure, it definitely is. I mean, we put ourselves out there in that space, and and not everything's gonna be rainbows and unicorns in that sense. But hey, I love it, and especially whenever we do post and I see some kind of pushback. I'm like, you know what, this is what it's meant for, right? At the end of the day, it's in the discussion, right? And if you don't agree with me, then so be it. You know.
Neymar.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you to everybody in the chat. Alexis, shout out to AJ right there in the chat. Chris, AP Jr. To our beloved Cowboy Dan, we just want to say congratulations. If you're listening to this, you know exactly why. But I will leave that up for news for the podcast another time, as I feel like you deserve your own space for that. But shout out to you, Dylan, for being so cool. And shout out to everybody out there listening to this again. We can't wait to see you guys on Saturday at the Football Boutique for our watch party for the Clásico de Mexico. Super excited. Chris, can't wait to see you. Can't wait to finally. It's crazy. We live so close to each other, but yet this is the first time we're going to meet each other.
Bro, you grew up across the street and you don't even come and visit.
I did. I grew up very close to where you're at right now. But I guess, hey, things, la cosa de la vida, no? So.
Yeah. You said you're going to have to go all the way to LA to meet me.
That's crazy. Yeah. Absolutely crazy. But all right. Thank you guys so much for everything. We'll be back next week to talk all things Club America. Make sure you guys check out Goal Sided, Omar, Cesar. Great guys. Absolutely top shelf. And then, like I said, we'll be back next week. All right. Take care. And as always, Arriba la America. Good night.
Talk soon. Peace.
All right.